Welcome to Matrix Engineers. In this video, I'm going to show you how to implement RESTful API, where we're going to do create, read, update, and delete. So guys, you're going to use ASP.NET Core Web API, and we are going to use the PostgreSQL database. Guys, let us start. Hit subscribe. So this Visual Studio 2022. So now we're going to create a project. So we are going to use ASP.NET Core Web API project template for creating RESTful Web API using ASP.NET Core controllers or minimal API with optional support of OpenAPI and authentication. So guys, let's call this employees API. So you don't need to configure HTTPS. You know, this is for 443 port hypertext transfer protocol secure. You know, we are going to use for HTTP, which run on port 80. So this will secure it encrypted data when it's transfer. But for HTTP, it move on over network in plain text. So now, what you're going to do, you're going to create a let's create a new folder. Let's create a new folder and call it models. So in a model, we are going to create a model class and let's call it employee. So now after creating employee, you're going to add properties. Let's use employee ID. Let's use here. Let's use the first name. So let's use last name. Title. Address. City. And region. So guys, after creating that class employee, the model class, so now we are going to use a PostgreSQL database. We need this pgadmin is a management tool for PostgreSQL. So let's wait until pgadmin 4 start. Now pgadmin started. So by default, when you're installing Postgres, it comes with a Postgres user. Please enter the password for the user Postgres. This user is created by default. Let's provide a password. So after that, you see we have a different tables in the database. We have a 6 database. So now what we need in our application, you're going to add the dependencies. But here it's a package. Let's add package managers. So in a Python, you say libraries. That's something. So let's browse. Let's use NPG SQL. This it is going to help us to connect to PostgreSQL database. So after that, you're going to need Microsoft.Entity Framework core.tools. So the tools, you see, it is this. It is going to help us to use this command: add migration, bundle migration, drop database, get DB context, get migration. So let's install it. So after this, you're going to install Microsoft.Entity Framework core. It is this. So Entity Framework core is a modern object database mapper for .NET. So this is going to help us to work with it can help you to work with MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQLite. Yeah, to deal with structured query languages. So after finishing to install this, what you are going to do, you're going to come on this model folder. You're going to add a new scaffolded item because you're going to create our API automatically. Create, read, update, and delete. You have to use this, choose this API, and use API controllers with actions using Entity Framework. An API controller with the REST actions to create, read, update, and delete, and the REST entities from Entity Framework. Data context. So you have to click on add. After that, by default, what you know, model class is the employee. You have to click on employee as a model class. DB context, don't have it. You can create it by clicking here. You see new data context type. So you add it. By default, database provider is a SQL database SQL server. So you're going to use a PostgreSQL. And the controller name by default is going to be employees controller. Let's use employee controller. So let's create it. So now updating dependencies information. Generating code. So now you see we have our controller, HTTP get method, you see, API/employee. This will help us to return the employee with a specific ID. We will pass ID to retrieve the specific employee. So here, this API/employee/5 put method will help us to update information of specific employee, and the post API/employee will help us to create employee. Delete will help us to delete employee. So guys, now what you're going to do, you see, we have a employee controller. Now what you're going to do, you know, this came with a Swagger. Let me show you builder.service.swagger, builder.services.add endpoint API explorer. So this Swagger UI will help us to test our API, but we will also use Postman. So guys, I will show you to use the Swagger and how to use the Postman. Here what you are going to do now is to add migrations. So you have to come on tool, NuGet package manager console. So right here, migration derivative database. You will see here we will get a migration folder. So right add migration command, add -migration. Let's use migration 1 as a name. So then you press enter. Build started, build succeed. So to remove this migration, you can use this command, remove -migration. So guys, now what you're going to do is to update the database. The database connection are there, connection string. You see we have employee API context, which is there also. Employees API context for get connection string. Here, what you're going to add, you see by default we are using Postgres user. We are in Postgres user. So we're going to add the password of Postgres user in order to update the database. So our database is employees API context, this and this. So let's add password equal matrix. So then we save. After that, let's use update -database. So guys, you see now it create employee table, employee ID, first name, last name, title, address, city, region, and the constant primary key is employee ID. So now you can see here we have a migration folder for migration. You see migration builder.create a table name is employee columns. So guys, you can customize this API according to what you need. But now what you're going to do, you're going to check if we have a database of this application. Now you see we have a 6 database. Let's refresh. You see now it's 7, and our table is the employee API context. Now our database schema. So now let's come on employee table. Let's run a script of selecting all. So this is not our database. Maybe it is this, and the schema, and the tables, this employee. Let's run a script for select script. You see, this is our database and this is our table. So now you see we have empty. The table is empty. So guys, let's run our project. Trust the IIS Express certificate. We don't need this. So let's run applications. And now you see Swagger employees API. You see guys, we have a get method for retrieving all employees from database, post for creating employee or inserting employee into database, get API slash employee slash ID. Here we have to pass ID of employee to retrieve specific employee. Put this for updating employee information or modifying employee information. Delete method for deleting employee. So guys, now we are going to start by creating employee using the post method. So you see this example value. So let's use this. Let's copy it. So you have to come on and click on try it out. And here what you have to do, employee ID will be auto-generated. So let's use first name, matrix, last name, engineers, title, system integrator, address, Rwanda, city, Kigali, and the region is East Africa. So guys, now I'm going to execute this. You see now matrix query post method http API slash employee. We are using post method, content type application slash JSON, matrix engineers, system integrator, Rwanda, Kigali, East Africa. So guys, this one is because this is uncommented, but by default there is no problem, because for response body you see that the employee ID have to be generated automatically. So employee ID is 1, first name is a matrix, last name engineers, title system integrator, address Rwanda, city Kigali, region East Africa. Guys, here we are going to get our employee. So to get employee, you have to come here and execute. You see, employee matrix engineer system integrator Rwanda Kigali East Africa. But let's use postman. You see, we'll use get method. Control copy, and you are going to use get method in a postman. Let's open a postman. This is a postman. And what we need now is let us wait until it's open. I want to show you how you can test this API using Postman instead of Swagger. Oh, it's too slow, but wait. Now let's create a new collection. And this collection, let's rename it and call it API. And let's add request. The request you're going to use this and the get method. As you see, this get method, you're going to use it here. So you're going to retrieve employee from database. So let's retrieve. You see, We have employee ID 1, first name, matrix, last name, engineers, title, system integrator, address, Rwanda, city, Kigali, region, East Africa. Guys, this is how can you use Postman. So let's continue to test with the Swagger. So now let's insert another employee. Let's use Mohire. John. Let's call it system admin. So let's execute. Let's see if we can. You see now this is a REST and this is a JSON. So let's retrieve again. Let's hit send again. Let's send request. You see, we have the employee to employee ID is 2, first name Mohir, last name John, title system admin, address Rwanda. And so guys, you are going to delete. Let's update some information. So let's retrieve one employee according to ID. You see here, you are going to get matrix engineers and Muhire John. But now we need to retrieve one employee according to ID. So let's execute get with ID. Let's try it out. Let's use 2. You see, response bodies. Okay. Mohire John, system admin, Rwanda, Kigali, East Africa. But you can also pass here to, for example, in order to retrieve Mohire. You see, employee ID Mohire John, system admin, Rwanda, Kigali, East Africa. If we need to retrieve all employees, we have to use this endpoint. But when we add ID, we need a specific employee who is Mohire. Guys, now let me show you how can delete Mohire. So let's update information of Mohire. Let's use 2 and let's copy this. Let's copy this and here we need to paste it here. Mohire Johnny Peter. We add Peter now. System admin Strata. You see, we updated some information. So now let's execute. You see now it's a success. Response is a success. So guys, let's try to retrieve Mohire with the ID 2. You see now Mohire is Mohire John, system admin, Rwanda, Kigali, East Africa. But in our update, we use John Peter, system admin. Let's retrieve and see. You see now Mohire John Peter, system administrator. So now I can check into database. So let's execute a script. You see now I have a matrix engineers, system integrator, Rwanda, Kigali, East Africa. We have employee ID 2, Mohire John Peter, system administrator, Rwanda, Kigali, East Africa. Guys, Now we are going to delete Mohire from database. So let's delete Mohire. We are going to use delete. So you see we have done update with a put method. Now let's delete Mohire. You see, let's use try it out and put here to ID of Mohire. You see here ID 2. We are going to delete Mohire, execute. You see now this 204 because it's undocumented, but the response is success. So now we are going to see if we can get Mohire again. You see, not found. Guys, even if you check in a database, let's refresh, Mohire is not available. Guys, this is how we can implement API using ASP.NET Core Web API. With this automation, you can customize your code after. Guys, thank you for watching. Do subscribe for getting more update about the video that I upload. Thank you, guys.